I was 16. I left school at 16. That was the best move I ever made. And it's, largely because I wouldn't have been able to do A-levels anyway. My GCSE results were not great. It's not about music. It's not about art. It's not about drama. It's about creativity and allowing our children to realize that creativity. If anybody's listening to this, please understand that that's not her job. Her job is to relieve you and to give you some of your time back. Not all of it, but just to give you some of that time back. But if you want to have the orchestras, and if you want to have the changing of the guard, and if you want to have that, then you have got to have the screeching cats of the violin at a primary level. You've got to have it. 43%. 43%. It's almost half of UK schools do not have any music element whatsoever. It's not about creating the musical stars of the future. It is about giving the children the opportunity to play. It's given, and that word opportunity is the biggest factor for them.
Hello and welcome to the Leading Boldly podcast. I'm Matt Clutterham.
I'm Jenny Jarvis.
Our next guest is someone who truly embodies the power of music education. He's not just a music teacher, he's a musical force of nature on a mission to ensure every child has access to a well-rounded education through the joy of music. From humble beginnings with just 12 students, he's built a thriving academy that reaches schools and youth groups across the country. His workshops don't just teach music, they ignite creativity, confidence, and a lifelong love for learning. And if that weren't impressive enough, his students have gone on to train at none other than the prestigious Royal School of Music in London. But Brendan isn't stopping there. With his latest project, LZ, an AI-powered pop star designed to bring music education into the digital age, he's taking innovation in music learning to a whole new level. Today, we're diving into his incredible story, the journey, the passion for music, and how he's planning to shape the future of music education. Brendan, welcome to the Leading Boldly podcast.
Thank you very much. Hello, Matt. Hello, Jenny. It's a pleasure to be here.
So, we have a bit of a tradition, Brendan. We like to understand the person behind the brands and behind the mission, and we like to dive right back to the beginning.
Yep.
What's school like for you?
School. I'm 46, so and I know we're all of a similar age, and so and so we all will remember school in the 1980s. It was a very different environment to the 2020s, and I had a 3-tier system. So we had the primary, middle, and high school. Now that's where I was brought up in Northumberland. That's been done away with now. Hawkwhistle is now just a primary and high. But within this middle school, I'm going to start there for me. Within this middle school sector between the years of 9 and say 13 before we went to senior school, we had this boiling pit of nastiness, and it was if you were going to be bullied in the 1980s, it was during that age group. So hey, let's throw them all together, shall we? And that was kind of the pit that I was in. And there's two things I remember from my middle school. One is my gym teacher. I'm not going to mention his name, but if you weren't good at PE, you weren't on the hit list at all. And my maths teacher, and because I wasn't very good at maths and my brother was, I was constantly compared. And my gym teacher, I remember he took something from me. I can't remember what it was. And I went to ask for it back, and there he was in the science department, surrounded by girls. Now that would throw up an alarm bell today. Absolutely throw up an alarm bell. Surrounded by these sort of preteen and early teenage girls. And I asked for it back, and he said no. Can't remember what it was. And I walked back away and tutted. And he called me back. He went, Brendan. I went back, and he grabbed me by the scruff of the neck, and he said, if you ever tut again, I'm going to throw you out of this window. And that absolutely embarrassed and humiliated me completely. So I walked away, and all the way down the stairs, tutted away. And then there's the maths teacher, again, I won't mention names, compared me to my brother constantly. He's a high-level accountant, good for him. But I was completely compared by him until my mother went in at parents' evening and said, he's not like his brother, is he? And by God, did she go off for one. If you've ever been told off by a 1980s mother, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. But school, it wasn't the happiest time for me. It was a time of real strain, and I didn't come into my own until I was about 16 and left school. I was as a child I was quite shy. As a child I was quite withdrawn. My mum and dad were well respected in the community. They were both police officers. They were Sunday school teachers, and my very name gave people the opportunity to really bully. I was known as Brenda the Bender for many years, and we laugh about it now, and it is, but when it's picked at you like that, it gets to you. So I must admit, school was not the happiest time, and that's where music came in for me because I retired to the music department. I went to the music department. I think in my senior school, my gym teacher thought that my name was a typo because I never went. I went to the music department and I wrote music and I played the piano and I played my trumpet and I engaged with other musicians from a very early age. So that was my school experience.
A bit like
a
mix of yours and mine, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. So we were only looking back at some of Jenny's diaries from the same age range you're talking about, and the number of times that PE gets an absolute slating is quite comical.
It is literally like was having a good day today, and then I had PE.
Yeah, yes, yeah, it is.
Like
It's
all the way.
true.
At least 2 or 3 times a week, wasn't it?
Oh, at least.
PE ruined my day, and it made it into my diary, which was only about 4 lines long, and it made it all the time.
Yeah, absolutely. And I found music to be the same safe haven for me, Brendan, in high school. I never music had always interested me before then, and at primary school, I learned the recorder and various low-level music activities, but in high school I found a real connection and solace in, and I didn't like, I'm not into football and things like that. So I didn't like playtime. I didn't like breaks. So I would always go to the music room and do the same, play on the piano. I taught myself piano during breaks at high school, and I would gravitate there for my sanctuary.
What's fascinating to me, though, is our joint experiences with PE. Just before recording this podcast, we were having a conversation about going to the gym and running and how I hate it so much. And you guys do very well now, but you had to get over barriers to get there. I wonder now, looking back, is those early experiences of PE and keeping fit, is that a contributing factor to our dislike of going to the gym, of running, of sport? I mean, I love rugby. But that was just because that was kind of what I was brought up with in my house. And it was, so I wonder if there's contributing factors of those early experiences of going to PE and the interactions with my PE teacher. It was is a factor to the gym, or am I just using it as an excuse in my head now?
I don't think so. But we were in the days where if you forgot your gym kit, you did the gym in your pants.
Yes.
You had to have. You were in your knickers.
Yes.
And that is horrendous. Can you imagine that happening now? And so I think PE experience, if you weren't naturally gifted, was always an absolute torment and embarrassment. I liked gymnastics. So if it was a gymnastics one and it was just me, that was fine. I hated team sports. I was never very good at catching balls, hitting balls, anything to do with that. And so I think when you feel like you're not good at those things and you're never going to be, having to do it week on week in the pissing rain often is miserable. Whereas now I go to the gym and I'm competing against no one other than myself.
Yeah.
And I think that's the difference with finding the gym for me now is, and the first time I really properly went to a gym was when I was 37, and I went with my dad, who was in his 70s, to a Pilates class so we could spend a bit of time together and do Pilates. And then it's taken like that another 4 years for me to go to the gym, and then it took another year for me to feel comfortable doing free weights, and that was because I got a bit of guidance. And now I'm competing against myself, and that's a different thing to being stuck in a group of people that aren't very nice to each other where
Mm,
it's all competition and you're
mm,
supposed to fit into this group and you get picked last because you can't run. And generally, I couldn't breathe when I was running either. And you can't catch a ball.
mm.
Yeah. So, how did you go from this kid who hated PE, was hiding in the music room? What's the journey from there to being the founder of Music Kids Academy?
It was quite a simple step for. Like I said, I didn't come into my own until I was 16. I left school at 16. That was the best move I ever made. And it's, I mean, largely because I wouldn't have been able to do A levels anyway. My GCSE results were not good. And so going on to do A levels wouldn't be an option. And I ended up working with professional musicians at a very, very early age. But I was always on the, and I'm not slating myself here, I was always on the lower end of the scale with regards to musical talent. It's because these guys were phenomenal, phenomenal musicians. And the ended up working for a short amount of time on the cruise liners. And this was quite a brutal environment. And it's the we had competitions like if whoever slept with the most girls, it was all male environment. If whoever slept with the most girls didn't pay for the drinks the next week, we weren't even meant to engage with the guests. But this was the kind of competitions that we had in the 90s. And it was terrible competitions. And I'm not going to go into the great detail, but the guy that always won was the keys player. He was hideously ugly. And it's but he always won. And so then after that, and then I came back up. I went to college, and that's where I really began to blossom as a musician, as a person, because they completely understood where I was, and the tutors and the students on the course really brought me on and brought me out of myself. And then it was back then I wanted to be the next John Williams or the next Hans Zimmer. I was going to be writing film soundtracks. Didn't know how I was going to get there, and of course I didn't make it. And so but that was it's not. I am never ever going to say I settled to teach because it's something that I still thrive in now. So and then teaching became the next natural thing. And it's so I would say I'm a good musician and a great teacher. Whereas there's some great musicians and they can't teach for toffee.
Yeah.
So I'm absolutely delighted with the approach they made. So that's the link so I started as a private tutor. And then the steps then went on to founding Music Kids Academy a couple of years ago, which before that it was Midlands Music Services, formed in 2010. And so now the Music Kids Academy, this thriving music academy, is far-reaching, and it's a wonderful place to be.
Amazing. What you set it up, didn't you, to really solve a lot of challenges that you see in music education? What's going on?
Oh, if I may as well, it's reading, studying. It's not just music. I think I'm going to make a bold statement. Creativity is the real pandemic of our time, or the lack of creativity is the pandemic of our time, and we need to engage with creativity. To quote a mutual friend of ours, Ezekiel Abramson. When I was speaking to him, he was saying that when you go into nursery school, it's very creative, it's colourful, and you can play, and everything is play learning. And then you go to real school, and everything is square. Everything, your desks are square, the rooms are square. And then you go to senior school, and it's even more square, and everything is rigid. And then you go to work in an office, and oh my God, what have we got? Squares. And it's removed this creativity. And when you think deeply about it, creativity is innately human. If we didn't have this creativity about us, we wouldn't have invented fire. We wouldn't have invented the wheel. We wouldn't have invented the motor car. We wouldn't have invented mobile phones or the printing press or indeed the telephone itself. It's this, and I realize that individual people, not so much fire, but individual people invented or are named to be inventing these things. But when the collective of the community creativity is actually led to these things. Does that make sense?
Oh,
And
complete sense. Yeah.
I
and
think another issue is the number of people that tell, like I hear it all the time, oh, I'm not creative.
oh, I love that. I
You
love
might
that.
not think you're artistic or that you can draw but that doesn't mean you're not creative.
I love it because when you say, well, tell me why, and then they've got a list of creative reasons as to why they're not creative. And this is one of my favorite discussions that I have with people. Oh, I'm not creative. And I think we need to understand this connection with creativity. And I'm not taking away anything from artists. And let's just a piece of music that we'll all sorry, piece of music, a piece of art that we'll all understand is the Mona Lisa. The creation of that is creative. The making and the painting of that is creative, but and admiring it isn't. That's being created, but that piece of art doesn't continue to be creative. The person that created that is creative. The embodiment, I think, of creativity are entrepreneurs. They've taken something from nothing and build something to serve a community and to make money and to give a bit of life's purpose. What's that if it's not creativity? And so the officer on the battlefield has got to be creative because it never goes to plan. Never goes to plan. And so they need to create a different way around to actually win that battle and ultimately the war. I think it was Eisenhower that said plans are useless, but planning is indispensable. I think it was that kind of thing. And what he really meant by that is that within the heat of battle, you've got to be creative and think of another way around it. And that is what real creativity is.
That's really interesting. And particularly, I would say particularly important right now with the huge rise of AI, like any expert in the field will tell you, there are two things that AI will never be able to do: real creativity and humanism. So yes, it can generate, right? But it has to generate based on a creative prompt. And that can't be replaced by machine because machines are ones and zeros.
Yes.
Yes. So surely creativity should be at the forefront of our education moving into this new industrial world, not the back.
I am. I'm sure we'll discuss AI because that's where Ella comes from, really. So we'll discuss AI in more depth in a moment. I'm a big fan of AI. And you're absolutely right. Within the UK, and it's not just the UK. It isn't just the UK. We have this STEM. So you've got science, technology, engineering, and maths. So you've got the STEM, and my book, which is still being written, is all about the building of these little robots that are the learning that this is how it is and that's it. But it's not how it flipping is at all. We can actually create a new world completely if we just put that A in the arts, because that bit there. So create STEAM, not STEM. I'm very passionate about this, and so I feel the hairs rising on my arms. And so if we just create this A element, the art, it will allow that creative element of it to push forward into other areas of our lives as well.
Yeah,
It's
amazing.
not about music. It's not about art. It's not about drama. It's about creativity and allowing our children to realize that creativity.
Yeah.
You wrote to several MPs recently, didn't you? What are you asking them for?
I'm asking them to put art in our education system. I'm asking them to put creativity at the forefront of our education system. I'm asking them to stop using a model that's been around since the pre-Dickensian period, a model of education that is there or was there to build people to work in factories. That's it. That's what it was there for. It was there to understand this is the rule, and you're there to obey that law. But the world has come on so much since then, and it's I mean even then it's deplorable. I mean it's a horrendous way to treat our young people, but at least they're brought in education for the masses, and it's but now it's so dated and it's so illogical to use that system when creativity should be at the absolute front of our mindset of that you can change the world and this is how.
And I think this doesn't just stretch to what people think of as a creative subjects either, because if you look at English literature, which literature is creative, my daughter's not doing English literature because her teacher said she won't read any of the books, because she won't. She goes, well, why do I need to read Shakespeare? Nobody speaks like that anymore. Why do I need an Inspector Calls? Because nobody, like, it's not relevant anymore. But so the teacher suggested maybe she didn't do English literature, yet she's got the new Hunger Games book and she's finished it in 4 days and it's got post-it notes all the way through it with notes.
Yeah.
Because she's inspired and she wants, so it's not that she can't read, it's not that she's not interested in reading, it's not that she's not got that creative mindset, but the school have gone, oh, you need to read all these books from goodness knows when. And I listened to some of the books that my older daughter was reading and I just thought I think it was Daphne du Maurier. What
See, I'm going to be controversial when I say this, and it's and I know I completely agree with you. Shakespeare should be respected, but not put on the pedestal. I mean, I quite like the Shakespeare stories. I don't necessarily like the language, but I love The Lion King. That was just a rehash of Hamlet. We all know that. And it doesn't need to be put on the pedestal that it is, but respect, not put on a pedestal. And I'm going to liken it to when you do A-level music, or when I did A-level music, we had to learn Bach chorales. Now I was sinfully bored, and in a very real sense, why am I learning that when I could be learning pop music and jazz? Because those are my things. And it's when I went to college, university to study jazz, it made so much more sense. And when I'm teaching it, I'm not going to teach a 6-year-old child a Bach chorale. And if I may, just last night, we did a piece of music by Mozart, the Magic Flute. Now, I will preempt this by saying I'm not a big fan of Mozart, but Mozart died on the 5th of December, 1791. And so 230 odd years later, we're playing the Magic Flute, but we're playing it exactly as is expected. What is, how are we going to be sympathetic to the music of the time? That is the same as getting a frozen pizza and putting it in the oven, pretending you've cooked. There's nothing really creative about that. Being creative is taking that idea and moving on to the next step. Now, I realize that's opinion. But it's this creative thing.
Yeah, I think that's an amazing analogy and an amazing viewpoint that I hadn't really considered. And I think you're completely right. That makes total sense to me, and I can really empathize with the Bach chorales as well. I went on from my safe haven of musicas at senior school. I went on and did an A-level in music, thinking that I wasn't sure, but I thought that there might be a musical path. And do you know what killed it for me? Wednesday afternoons, 3 hours every week of music theory.
Yeah.
With led by someone who I reckon if you slapped him, about 50 years of dust would come out. And that's how he delivered every syllable of the lectures.
Yeah.
As well. And it honestly, it killed it for me. I still like to tinker around on a piano and stuff, but it killed the path.
Yeah, I understand that. I mean, because with certain boards, music theory is still such an important aspect of it. They have changed it, so they've actually made the route easy, but you still got to do it before you can move on to the higher grades.
I do get the importance. I just thought that
you've got to respect it.
I think it was the delivery that was.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes, yeah.
Yeah, there was no.
I mean, it's very difficult though. Sorry, Jenny.
No creativity in the delivery.
Right. And it's very, I mean, what I will say as a teacher, it's very difficult to be creative in theory to that level. Once you get beyond that level, it's fascinating, absolutely fascinating. How Tchaikovsky's music works when in theory it shouldn't is absolutely fascinating. So it's that kind of thing when you come later. But it's quite dry. This is key signature.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. That's interesting. So is that because Tchaikovsky played outside of the framework?
Oh, he's the epitome of creativity. I mean,
Right.
he
Yeah.
is, yeah, absolutely. Tchaikovsky, I don't know much about his life. I understand he was quite a grumpy man, but it's I mean, he was just listen to Swan Lake, the finale to Swan Lake, and the last 2.5 minutes of it are just it explodes, absolutely explodes, and but he's writing in different key signatures for different sections of the orchestra. Well, that shouldn't flipping work, should it? But in a very real sense, it does. So
Yeah.
it's yeah. So he is the embodiment of creativity in music.
Awesome. So from the past of music to the future, you creating something rather special, aren't you? Do you want to tell us about it?
Ella, there she is. Ella Z is the she's the artificial intelligence that's going to sit on our website to help young people get ideas for their music creations. She's not going to do it for them, but she is going to be there. She's also going to help teachers as well with a completely free tool to sit on our site that's going to help them with their music creation in their classes. But beyond that, Elizzy she's going to be a singer. Her debut performance is going to be the 8th of July, 2025. We'll find it. One of my challenges at the minute is getting that message out to enough schools. It's about 4 months to the day before she's scheduled to do that. And so I guess from a school perspective, that's a long time away. So it's getting that message out to say that is what's happening. But she's going to be the embodiment of creativity as well. She's going to be a student. She's the female version of me. Well, some people might say I'm the female version of me, but she's the female version of me when I was 14, 15 years old. She struggles with maths. She struggles with the analytical approach, but she's creative and she wants to release that creativity in children, not just in the UK, but around the world.
Why did you think it was important to use an AI tool for this rather than a human?
AI is I am a big fan of AI, and it's AI. One of the reasons is she can work 24/7 and a human can't. So that there is that element to it. But AI is here to stay, and it's for me. When you look at artificial intelligence, is I know we've had news headlines that it's taking jobs away and it's doing this, that, and the other, all negative, negative, negative. But I just going off for one sentence, I find that actually a good excuse will take your job away rather than artificial intelligence. But the when it comes to AI, you embrace it or you don't. If you embrace it, then you're going to be part of what is going to be, for me, a great future. AI, my understanding with regards to the figures, by 2027, the most intelligent thing on the planet is going to be a robot. And by 2045, 2046, which is in all our lifetimes, the intelligence of AI is going to be the difference between Einstein and a fly. And that's huge. That's massive. And so it is very, very much here to stay. And if you embrace that, you could have utopia. It's my only concern with artificial intelligence, and I realize I've kind of gone off on a little one here. My only concern with artificial intelligence is its moral compass. Because it's going out on the internet and it's learning off social media. And the only people that seem to go on social media are negative, miserable, grumpy, hot. When you read the comments on spotted town name here, or anything like that, it's very, very negative place to be. And if that's going to be its moral compass, then we could have a problem. We need nice people on the internet.
See, I find that really interesting, your perception of that, because I've had quite a few conversations with various people about this. My feed is not like that. My feed is incredibly positive for the most part.
Okay.
And if it's not, I like to inject some positivity into that thing. So I have certain groups that are intrinsically going to be negative. So I'm in a massive group of people whose kids don't go to school because they've got anxiety, because they've got trauma, because of all sorts of things. So that group is not going to be the most cheerful of groups because it's a group of people coming toward for advice and help. But you can still make that a positive experience. So I think it's very much how you look at those things and be really careful when you're saying the whole of the internet is negative, because you have to look at what you're programming the internet to give you.
Yeah,
Because
fair one.
Your social media gives you what you pay your attention on.
Mm-hmm.
If you pay your attention on negative stuff, you'll get more negative stuff. But if you put it on positive things, like my whole feed's positive. I look at my feed, I always feel generally uplifted. So be very careful, just generally, to all the listeners and viewers out there, of your story about social media. If you're seeing negative after negative after negative, look at what you're putting your attention to, because you'll get more of it.
Fair one. I mean, as you know, Jenny, I'm not a big fan of social media. The
I
only
know
one I
you don't
really,
like it.
yeah. But you know, I take it on board. You're absolutely right. But I think to answer the question directly, why AI instead of human is one, because she can sit on a site and help children all over the world. So the reach that we have is going to be far greater than me. Now, a YouTube channel could do the same thing, but the YouTube channel is going to give the same information all the time, whereas AI will give new information as it's updated. And so that was important. The other thing for me as well is the embodiment of looking at towards the future. Walt Disney created Mickey Mouse. Now, a lot of people don't know what Walt looked like. A lot of people don't really know much about Walt at all. And what I may say as well is that actually be careful what you learn about Walt Disney as well, because not all of it's true. And but he created this Mickey Mouse, and as soon as you see Disney, you see Mickey Mouse. The two go absolutely hand in hand. And so, from a branding perspective, which I know that you guys are well up on that, you taught me. So, from a branding perspective, she is going to be the Mickey Mouse of everything that we look at.
Amazing. Yeah, I mean, we did an amazing earlier episode with an expert in AI in the workplace, right back in the early days of the podcast, and she gets the actual data of what's going on, and her driving opinion from what she can see was that the power of AI in the future is that it will free up humans to do what they want to do,
Yes.
rather than what they have to do.
Yes.
And I think that that's an amazing vision of the future. Like
True.
I'm all in for that. Like,
just unfortunately, most people don't know what they really want.
yes, that is a problem.
And I'd say most people. So that maybe is a generalized thing. And it's like you do what you want when you retire. Well, I'm already doing what I want. So have I retired already? I don't think I have, because I work long hours. You two work long hours, but I know you two love what you do. And so it's so when I'm almost against retiring in the perceived sense of it. You just need to kind of understand what it is you really, really want. And I agree with it. AI can absolutely help you do that. Utopia.
So how are the schools responding to the idea of LSE, the ones that you've reached out to?
As one might expect, well, one might expect if you're more intelligent than I, I'm not going to use the word apathy, because our schools are not apathetic at all to education and to new ideas. They are finding it difficult to understand. That's my job, to make sure that gets out at a much more understandable level. And they're failing to understand why she exists. Again, that's my job to tell them and to remind them of that. But I think as well, because of the strains and the stresses that schools are under. I mean, we're losing great teachers daily. They're just seeing it as another thing that's going to take up their time. When, if anybody's listening to this, please understand that that's not her job. Her job is to relieve you and to give you some of your time back. Not all of it, but just to give you some of that time back. So it's been met with, I'm going to use the word suspicion, I think. It's because she's new. And it's why wouldn't you be suspicious about something new?
So if they were listening to this and they're asking those questions of why should I care? Why should they care?
because she can revolutionize not just music. Ella can and will revolutionize the way that your students see creativity. That she will revolutionize the way in which you think, and that will go down to the students in the way that they think about how they can be creative. And going back to a previous comment, just yesterday I had a student of 9, telling me that they weren't creative. I mean, what a statement for a 9-year-old to
Yeah.
make. It's a huge statement to say that they weren't creative, and it's that if there's one per classroom, that's a problem.
Yeah.
And so Ella can be absolutely be there to change that.
Where do you think they get that message?
Oh, that's loaded. Um, For me, it's got to be potentially in the home. I mean, our bit to a point. Our biggest educators are our parents, and it's but if they are not pushing that message forward and perhaps using YouTube potentially, although YouTube is very creative, and it's and then the message itself is perhaps been lost, being twisted and turned. And if they're maybe their dad is an engineer and mum is a nurse, as an example, they might not see those as creative jobs when in fact they really are. And then the message is getting twisted to go into a position where you're not creative because you're not an artist, because you're not a musician, because you're not into drama, because you don't do this. Whereas, as we've already said, creativity isn't about that. It's about being able to look at the box and then look at it from a different side.
I had an interesting experience in a school quite a few years ago now, maybe 6 years ago. And we went in to do a workshop with the kids, and they were making flowers out of leftover tents that had been dumped at a festival. So me and my dad appeared at the festival, grabbed a load of different tents, and we were using the fabric to make these flowers with the kids at school, and all different things. And there was this boy who sewed this flower. He did this amazing thing, and I said to the teacher, "Oh my goodness, he's so creative." Now there was another activity going on where they were painting zoo animals onto cardboard.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, "Oh, he could do that. He really wants to do the painting. Like, he's so creative." And she went, "No, he's not creative. He's a science geek."
Oh, dear Lord, no, 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 no.
Like, I literally stopped in my tracks and just went, "But he's created the most amazing flower out of any of the kids in this room today. How are you telling me he's not creative? That makes no sense to me."
Oh, dear Lord. I see science as among one of the most creative elements of our world.
Oh, absolutely. If you look back at the Renaissance, like where we get a lot of the revered masters from, they were generally the masters all did music and science and some form of art. They did all three. So
that's right. Yeah,
because they all interlink in
yeah, they do. And so to say that you're a science geek and you're not creative, that's it's sinful.
I think I'm going to get on my soapbox for a second. I think it's really interlinked. Like this, you're not creative thing is so interlinked with society, and particularly formal education's inability to let people play and fail. Because and I always use this analogy. Sorry, viewers and listeners, you've probably heard this many times, but I'm going to say it again. As a toddler, when your toddler is first starting to crawl and getting up and trying to walk, when they've fallen over 10 times, do you go, "Oh, will you just stop it? You're not a walker"?
Yeah.
No. Do we encourage them through every failure until they get it right?
Absolutely correct.
Until they work out the best way to do it for them in their own way. Yes, we never tell them, "Oh, will you just stop it? You're just not a walker." No. So why do we do that in every other area of their life from then on?
It's a funny thing, isn't it? There's this. I mean, this is potentially our relationship with failure. And it's that's part of creativity. But Edison famously had 10,000 failures before he invented the light bulb. I don't know if that's true or not, but it's a widely used thing. And this embracing failure is a huge aspect for me. And I mean, linked with that as well is my son is 13, and I tell him that in his life, when he's older, he can do anything, absolutely anything he wants. And he wants to go down the cybersecurity route. Great, he can keep me in the way I've become accustomed with the kind of money that he can attract. But he wants to do that. So where do we get the position from you can do anything in your life to right, you need to go out and get a job?
Yeah.
Where does that change happen? Where does that? And so for me, it's all linked. It's all the way that our brains work. You're no longer a child. You need to go and get a proper job. And it's and I call a proper job is not what we do, by the way. We do far too.
Yeah, no, we do not have a proper job.
None of us have proper jobs. And it's where does this change? Where does this change of mindset happen? And it's got to come from, I'm going to call them parenting figures. And of course, the education system doesn't educate to do what we do. The education system educates to go and get a proper job.
Yeah. As you said earlier, in a 18th century factory,
Yeah.
mainly.
Yeah.
We are smashing some absolutely massive elephants in the room today, and I love it. I've got another one for you. Cash.
Cash.
Money. We know that education and schools are critically underfunded. How are you and Music Kids Academy and Ella addressing that?
Well, Ella is going to be a free bot, if you like, on our site. So straight away, we're addressing the idea of if you're struggling with that, then you can go straight to the site, musickids.org.uk. She's not there yet, but I'm going to be speaking to my web designer, Matt Clutterum, about putting her on there. So it's and using ChatGPT AI to source that. I'm just in the process of working out it's not called coding, prompts, to make sure that she works properly. So this is going to be a conversation that we're going to have at some point in the very near future. So it's musickids.org.uk. And then from there, it's good. If you have already got a music teacher, she's going to be there to work alongside that music teacher. But 43% of our schools don't offer music at all. And that's because of cash. So she is going to be there to prompt and to help people that maybe don't believe they're any good at music, to give them the ideas to bring creativity into their classroom. It isn't just about music, it is about creativity. And so straight away, the cash element is there. It's interesting because I mean, schools have been in crisis money-wise since I was a kid, I think, forever. And again, I'm going to address an elephant in the room. If we want to change that, everyone in the country is going to just simply have to pay more taxation. Isn't that a simple way to deal with it? To put a penny on every pound?
Well, yes, it is. But the problem is some people want that to go to music education. Some people want it to go to the NHS. Some people want it to go to cancer research. Some people want it to go to clearing the bins out. Some people want it to go to more green space. Like that penny doesn't spread. So you, I think, would attract some really amazing musicians, perhaps, that want this in the education system, who are already successful. If you could have your utopia set of musicians, who would you have on board?
Well, one of my favorites is Hans Zimmer. And I completely admire what Ed Sheeran is doing. As just yesterday was in the news, a couple of days ago, you sent me the message with the open letter that he sent to our Prime Minister, and it's so he would absolutely be on the list. Am I allowed to use dead ones?
Yeah, absolutely.
George Michael all day long. What a writer! What a writer he is. He's not dead, but Elton John would be up there as well. It's just great writers, and one a little bit off the wall that I've come to admire an awful lot recently is Eminem. Actually, he's just a great lyricist, great writer, And like Ed Sheeran, like Ed, it disagrees with the whole BAFTA because they select who they want as opposed to who the people want. And so so he absolutely disagrees with the way that that's approached. So those people would be, if I was to form a teaching team of writers, they would be right up there. Yeah.
So if anybody out there knows Ed or Ellen
Oh,
and could get them to have a chat with Brendan, that would be brilliant.
if anybody out there knows Ed and can somehow just give them my email address and please, yeah, that would be awesome. I mean, it's what Ed Sheeran is trying to do to inject more money into music is absolutely right in it's center of my heart. And so I completely agree with what the Ed Sheeran Foundation is doing in that sense. So and yeah, I'd love to speak to him, and I'd love to be just a tiny cog in that machine.
Hi, so we just wanted to stop the podcast for just a few seconds to introduce you to our HQ community. It's for bold solopreneurs and small business owners who are tired of doing things on their own, because let's face it, success is a team sport.
We've got a great community already together of brilliant people. They are kind, they are interesting, they are knowledgeable, and they are already supporting each other. What we've seen in the group in just the last few weeks has been really incredible. So if you want to join us, it is the place to be.
Find out more and join now. www.qbranch.consulting/HQ. Remember, success is a team sport. Now back to the podcast.
What is your kind of 5 to 10 year hopes and dreams?
With everything would be there's some stuff that I haven't shared publicly yet, but I can do that now. Ella will be a brand within herself linked to Music Kids Academy. So it's she will be used every single day by schools all over the world because it isn't just a UK problem. This creativity pandemic is a worldwide problem. And so she will be used as a worldwide brand to bring creativity back in the classroom, and she'll be constantly the same age. That's the beauty about it. Mickey Mouse hasn't aged in the last 70 years, and so Ella would be exactly the same thing. Whereas in 10 years' time, I'll be 56. I mean, that's ancient to the
No, it's not. I'm the oldest in the three of us, so no.
It's pretty ancient to primary school kids.
But and yet, whereas I mean, they can't imagine being 46, you know. So it's and so when they see Ella, they will see her as this engaging, and of course, as AI develops, as we develop, she will develop, and she'll become much more interactive. Music Kids Academy is going to be a license model. So we're going to be licensing out to music teachers that would like to build a brand under my coaching, and it's to build the brand in their area. Carving the country at the minute into between 100 and 120 areas where you've got an equal amount of school children and schools to be able to run with that license in your area. And it is not going to be an expensive way to bring. Now, if you are already a music teacher and you would like to investigate it, it's not to stop you doing what you do, it's to engage with what you do. So the one of our flagship classes is the Build a Band in a Day workshop. Schools really engage with it. It's the epitome of music creativity. You would have the rights to use that, and you'd be trained on how to use that properly.
Let me just clarify. That was build a band in a day, not a brand.
Build a band, BAND. I'm going to leave branding to those that know branding. I build a band. Can you build a brand in a day?
We're on a brand website, but I'm fairly sure you said band, and that would make sense. So I just wanted all the listeners out there to understand that you said band.
Build a band in a day.
Used to hearing about brands.
Yeah. And for me personally, I see my role. It's in the next 5 to 10 years is much more advisory with music teachers, with museums as well, how to bring creativity to engage children, to speak to schools and to multi-academy trusts on how to bring creativity more into the classroom. And so it's that I would like to become a creativity strategist within myself to help with that creativity side.
Yeah, awesome. Do kids still learn the recorder in primary school?
They do, and it's better now, because what they don't do is just put it in a bucket of disinfectant. We actually clean them properly. Yes, they do. I mean, the recorder. I mean, I've got a good friend of ours, the Reverend Steve Short. He's a very accomplished recorder player, and it's
and also our PR agent, Lucy. She's her
right.
and I think play quite a bit together.
It is a real instrument, and it's a great instrument to play. I think it gets a bad press because it's usually played badly, and I'm going to put myself onto that as well. I don't play the recorder well, and it's just seen as this sort of introduction instrument, but it is. So yeah, kids do absolutely play the recorder. They also and children love to make music. They love to make music and they love to create. And what I find is that kids that disrupt the most are the ones that are best at creation. And it's back in when we were kids, you were told to sit on your hands. I mean, what kind of bloody advice was that? Sit on your hand. And and if they're rat-a-tatting on a table, give them a pair of drumsticks. If they're blowing down a clarinet and making as much noise as possible, let them do it, but show them this is how to create the best noise you possibly can from the clarinet. Or maybe if you're blowing that loudly, you're going to be a better trombone player. That sort just reiterate and change the dialogue.
I don't know whether you know that I've got a distinction in grade 1 violin.
Grade 1 violin. Oh, bless. I didn't know that.
But I always think to myself, why is the violin an introduction instrument? Because it sounds so blooming awful when it's played badly.
The violin is incredibly complicated. And I mean, I don't know the violin at all. I mean, I've got friends of mine that play the violin beautifully. I don't even know how to string one. So it's but the violin is a very, very complicated instrument, very complex. It's a
quite a common starting instrument, which I find odd.
Yeah, it is quite a common one. And I mean, but if you want to have the orchestras, and if you want to have the changing of the guard, and if you want to have that, then you have got to have the screeching cats of the violin at a primary level. You've got to have it. It's that simple.
Yeah, and parents just have to get over the noise, don't they?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean,
now you've got noise cancelling headphones. You didn't have that when we were kids.
Yeah, that's true. And you can, most days now you can plug your headphones into your piano even and like kill it.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. And the piano is actually a popular starting instrument as well, but that's a complex instrument.
What would you say would be the best starting instrument?
Oh, I'm gonna say trumpet, just because it's my instrument. Just because I mean, you need to imagine this. I was 6 years old when I started playing brass. So I was about knee high to a centipede, and I proudly walked home with a euphonium. So euphonium is like, for those that maybe don't know, it's a mini tuba. It's an octave higher than the tuba, and the size of me, and then the size of the tuba, dragging it home. And then I went to the tenor horn, and then I was given a trumpet and never really looked back. And so I'm going to say trumpet. One, because you've got to control what happens. You've got to control the buzz. The other thing, you're reading one line of music. And if you listen to different trumpet players, they've all got their own tone. You can develop that, and it's versatile. You can play in orchestra, you can play big band, you can play in swing bands, you can play in small sets. It's a very, very versatile instrument, whereas perhaps the piano is incredibly versatile, but you can only have one in a band. So it creates that problem. Wonderful instrument to play, and I teach it a lot. The strings, you've got your orchestras, or you've got your country music, if you like, but you don't have the versatility, I don't think. Again, that could be opinion, but the trumpet for me would be or saxophone for the same reason.
Where do you love playing the trumpet most?
Oh, I like big band. I like big band music. I like modern big band music. So it's Gordon Goodwin's Big Fat Band, and it's all that kind of thing. I also love playing the sort of Caro Emerald kind of music, where it's these with small horn section. That's where I love it. That's where I really enjoy it. I'm not a screecher. I don't screech up into the gods. I am a jazz soloist. I like making it up as I go along.
I loved your story about the euphonium. Then so I'll tell you a little story about my dad. When he was young, he came home from school and said to his mom and dad, "Can I learn an instrument?" And they said, "Yeah, sure, no problem." And because it was going to be like learn a musical instrument day the following day at school, and he went back to school and. His mum and dad, my grandparents, thought he might come home with a recorder or, maybe even a tambourine. Nope, he came home with a tuba.
It's a mighty instrument.
Massive, particularly for like a 6-year-old.
Yeah, I mean the tuba is it's massively underrated as the tuba. It's a friend of mine. He passed away a few years ago. He was a friend of my bandmaster, Simon Kerwin, was a phenomenal tuba player. I'd never really heard the tuba played quite like it, and it's and that gained a lot of respect from me for the tuba. But what the tuba's a funny one. It's when it comes to brass bands, and I'm not going to go on about brass bands in the UK. They're an important part of getting people started in music. It's the culture of brass bands. Never mind, but they get a lot of children started, but they tend to put in the sort of lower end brass bands, if you like, they tend to put weaker players onto the tuba. Well, it's the stupidest move you can make. The tuba holds everything together, and it's to put weaker the sort of the people that can't play very well onto the tuba because maybe the line of music is simpler is a daft move, and it can ruin it. I wish I'd written my dissertation when I was at university. I wish I'd written it on bass players because it's with my experience of working for them, bass players are the epitome, are the everything to do with the band. They hold it together. You can get away with a great bass player and an average drummer, not so much the other way around. I don't think it's the bass. So tuba is a really important one, but it's huge. I mean, it's massive. So as a little kid coming home from school, he must have dragged it up the road.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I think I'm certain it was just a rebellion. It was just to do
with your dad, no doubt.
Yeah, it was just to do the most outlandish possible
ridiculous
result
thing, yeah.
that he could possibly could.
I'm loving the fact that we are sat here all reminiscing with big smiles on our faces about our music learning. My mum, she played the flute. She used to tell us that her budgie would sit on the end of the flute and sing while she was playing. We've all got these stories about when we were kids and experiencing music. I was in the recorder band. I was in the choir. We all have done music in this group. Imagine a childhood where they get to our age and they cannot look back and tell these stories.
Well, I just want you to repeat, actually, because I was a bit shocked when you said it earlier, so much so that I didn't respond at the time. But please repeat for us, what percentage of UK schools have no music education?
That's 43%. 43%. It's almost half of UK schools do not have any music element whatsoever. And it's which is a terrifying statistic. But it isn't just music, and I must keep coming back to this point. It isn't about music. Now we are sitting with big smiles on our face, and we're talking about the music that we created, and it's still something that we can go back to now. You don't have to. Well, you're a campanologist, Jenny. So with that musical element has got to go into the same thing of bell ringing. That listening, that teamwork, that collaboration with each other is exactly the same kind of thing. And it's so you can do it at any level. You don't have to be a world-class musician to make music. And you can say the same thing about football and rugby. You don't have to be a world-class. But the discipline remains the same. But can you imagine 43% of schools not doing PE?
The thing actually that struck me, no, I can't imagine that. But with you saying this, there's a real problem, I'm going to call it a problem, in schools at the moment that the teachers are struggling to deal with, in that there are more and more neurodivergent children showing up who they are struggling to control. And I wonder if maybe the lack of these creative subjects, if they brought music back in, if they brought the arts back in, maybe they wouldn't have such a problem with these kids who are not geared to the other stuff. They're not geared to phonics. They're not geared to maths. They're not geared to those things. Maybe if they could have those creative outlets within the classroom, they wouldn't be causing so much problem. So they put all these statistics of kids rising in neurodivergent and misbehaving to other factors, but actually maybe it's just because 43% of schools don't have music education.
Well, there's a famous story. I think it was 2009. It's a school in Bradford. If your listeners Google school in Bradford using music, then they will probably find it. I think it was the school was called Feversham Primary or similar, and the head teacher went in. It was a failing school, so it was absolutely the bottom of the league tables. And so instead of increasing maths and English, he actually had every single child having music lessons 3-4 times a week. And what it did, it didn't just improve the school, and then all of a sudden they were rated good, and they were in the top 10 in the league tables in their areas for maths and English, but the community around it as well. So within the setting of Bradford, you had a lot of different cultural mix, and the community around it were, to want a better way of putting it, didn't get along. But what happened was, with that music, it created a community outside of the school where they were getting together to make music, and that improved the community massively from just that decision to increase music in the school from 0 to, like I say, 4 times a week, if not more. Children came out of the shells when they were playing the drum kit, and everything became logical to them, and all of a sudden they were engaged. And that's one of the most famous stories that we've got. And it was featured in The Guardian years ago, and like I say, you can still find the story. But that's not just an isolated incident. And to agree with you, absolutely, these neurodivergent children that are coming through, and yes, behavioral problems, if you like, are becoming more apparent. If they actually give the kids a chance within the education system, and I'm not blaming teachers, it's the system, and if they actually give the kids the chance within the system to explore their creativity, which essentially stops after year 2, then I think it will change, and it can change, not just the child, not just the school, but the community.
Yeah, I agree.
Just from my own personal perspective, as I would consider myself an incredibly creative person, and I know I require creative outlet to, it's not like to vent, to, be outside of myself a bit. And I know I become a bit of a ticking time bomb if that's restricted from me.
Yes.
I would say that that's pretty key in doing all these things.
I think it also comes into what we've discussed before about play. And play seems to stop, definitely when you get to high school. Playtime isn't playtime, it's hang around, fight with each other, and gossip in the corner time. There's no play anymore.
That's not new, though, is it? I mean, I remember I started smoking at 14 years old because that's the people that I hung around with. Thankfully, I've quit now, but a good few years ago. But that's what happened, It's the idea of play becomes a very, very unfashionable thing, unless you're playing a computer game, I guess. Unless you're playing football, unless you're playing the trumpet, but the idea of just making a story up that just does disappear.
It's fascinating. Right, Brendan, I've got 3 questions for you. It's the same question on all 3 things. So first of all, Music Kids Academy. We've asked you lots of questions. What haven't we asked you about Music Kids Academy that you want the world to know? This is your platform. Go.
Oh, lovely. Music Kids Academy is more, it's not about creating the musical stars of the future. It is about giving the children the opportunity to play. It's given, and that word opportunity is the biggest factor for me. It's giving the kids, the children, the opportunity to make music together and actually to maybe realize I can do this and I can be good at this, and that would be that's a skill well beyond music. It's a skill that they can take into their work life as the creative element to actually change their own world. And if they're changing their own world, then they're changing the world around them and the people around them. It can create this positive vibe that other subjects possibly can't. It is so the what we do is we offer free lessons to every single child will get a free lesson on an instrument. It's if the school will allow us to come in. So that's one of the biggest things that we do. Every single child in the school can have a free lesson. Let's just see how they do with it. We the build a band in a day workshop. We'll create this element of cohesiveness in perhaps a way that they're not used to doing. So again, the creative element of it. We work with the school. We don't, and what I mean by that is that we want to become the school's music department, or if they've already got one, to work with their music department. So it's not just a case of right, that's the 10-week program over and do with Tatar. It's a case of what else can we do to improve the creativity of the children in your school, and that's one of the biggest ethos. It's inspiring young minds through music. It isn't about the music itself; it's about the inspiration, and that's our core message.
Amazing. Same question about Ella Z. What haven't we asked you that you want the world to know?
Ella is relatively young at the moment, and so I'm certain that over the next few years she is going to change, as we all must. But Ella is there as, or will be there as, a free tool on our website to ignite the passion of music and ignite the passion of creativity in every single child, and I mean every single child. It's this. It's a funny thing. I can't remember who said it, but it said there's two most important days of your life. One day, the day that you're born, and the day you know why. And when it comes to the life's purpose, I found it when it came to I want to have every single child inspired by creativity. Every single child, not just the ones I come in touch with. It's the ones that I'll never know and the ones that will never know me and perhaps not even know my name. For generations to come, inspire every single child, and Ella Z is going to be a big step towards that.
Brilliant. And finally, we know this is a global thing and this is a global podcast, but Music Kids and Ella is based out of the UK. So let's start with the UK. You're sat across the table now from the British Prime Minister. What are you saying?
Oh, that's loaded. I am saying that I've already said almost at the beginning of this podcast that we have a creativity pandemic. It's the biggest pandemic of our time. It's greater than any other thing that we've dealt with. And unless we start engaging with that, and unless we start changing the mindset and the school and the education system, the pandemic is going to take over, and we are going to have a generation of nothing other than robots. And that is not going to take the UK forward at all. It's going to turn us into a nation of people that are simply there that can follow rules. That's not how the UK became such a great nation. That's not how any great nation is created. It's about those that can break the mold, and that comes out of creativity.
Brilliant. Great answer. So we've reached my favorite bit of the podcast, because I get to do my desert island discs bit.
Yeah.
And I know that this is going to be particularly hard for you.
I know.
Right.
We have had a lot of books through our door over the years.
So, yeah, for our viewers and listeners, yeah, Brendan's always sending Jenny and I physical books, book recommendations, and, the second question. So, Brendan, please give me one
Just one.
book, piece of music, and a tool or framework that's had huge impact on you and your journey that you'd like to share?
Okay, it may surprise you. I mean, I've looked at my bookshelves and I've looked and I've gone, no, not that one, not that one, not that one, because these ones I'll keep rereading. Mike Allowitt's book, I will keep books, I will keep rereading them, but I can't say it had the single biggest impact. And then I'm looking at my bookcases now, and it's loaded with books, but one is Roald Dahl's Boy. And the reason I say that is because I read that when I was young. I read that when I was in my early teens. And Roald Dahl, I'd read most of his books, children's books anyway. My understanding is he also wrote for adults. But when you read his books, Charlie and the Chocolate Factory and The Witches and James and the Giant Peach and Danny the Champion of the World, those books engaged with a young reader in a way that, wow, this is rebellious. This is so different to Enid Blyton, and it's so different to this because he absolutely broke the mold. I mean, just with the witches, you've got people sneaking into a meeting and all this kind of. Well, that was kind of unheard of. But you didn't sneak anywhere. And the reason I would say boy is because you find out why he wrote the way he did. When he talks about his life with such affection and with such passion, and you see, I mean, he is the embodiment of creativity. And when you see his life, he just looked at the world differently. And so that's why it's I would say that a book that I would take with me would be Boy by Roald Dahl.
That's fascinating because Roald Dahl particularly engaged me and ignited my imagination as a kid. And I think I might have just had the answer told to me as to why, because it was rebellious and outside the box and against the norm. And that makes total sense to me.
Yeah. Yeah, he was such a good writer, and Quentin Blake, the illustrator as well. I mean, he illustrated it in a way that a child would be able to recognize, and just from I mean, it wasn't pretty pictures; it was line drawings that weren't colored in, and it was just the everything about the Roald Dahl books. And if there's people that haven't read the Roald Dahl books, please go out and read them.
Oh, yeah, even
absolutely engage with you now.
Yeah. I mean, there'll be links to all your books of music and everything in the show notes for people to go and delve into the stuff that's impacted you. But yeah, I remember there's another like subcategory there. I got a book when I was young, How to Draw Like Quentin Blake, and it was written by him.
Yeah,
and it was the art course of how to be Quentin Blake basically, and I spent several years probably trying to do that. Yeah.
Well, although I'm rather disappointed you didn't say Jenny Jarvis from your book.
I know, it's there.
It's slide for Roald Dahl.
Yeah.
It is there. Your book, Life's One Big Drama. Yes, it is there. It's on the bookshelf, Jenny.
Excellent. So you're not getting out of the last question.
No.
A tool or framework.
Not done music yet.
Oh, we haven't done music yet. From from Mr. Music. So
I know this is a hard one.
Yeah. I mean, it's hard for me. It's hard for Jenny because our tastes are so eclectic. I imagine yours are too.
Yeah, I mean, my tastes go back. I mean, we mentioned Tchaikovsky. My favorite thing from him is Swan Lake. The whole thing is just wonderful. And if you've not seen it, go and see the ballet. You might not think you like it, but you do. You like it. You love it.
I've seen Swan Lake. It's beautiful.
And then so going from there to I mean, I love Beethoven. I think the way that he wrote was absolutely superb. I do like Bach's Toccata in D minor. So going back all the way back then. All the way through to Les Mis. I know you don't like it, Jenny, but Six, I think the music from Six.
Oh yeah, no, I don't like Six. You're correct.
It's there, as well as music from Wicked is absolutely fantastic, and all the way through to AC/DC. I love AC/DC. My son listens to AC/DC. He listens to it on Christmas morning, so the Christmas music. So well done, Thomas. I'm proud of you, mate. It's so and all of that. I love Nickelback. I like Eminem. But if I was to choose one track, it would have to be November Rain by Guns N' Roses. because
yeah.
it is, and if I was to, and to the point where I can't go and get it and show you, but for Christmas, my wife and I recently got our house, as you know, we moved in on the 7th of December. So we said that's a pretty big Christmas present. So we were allowed £10 to spend on each other, and she got me what looks like an iPod with November Rain playing on it, and so it's that's how much, and it's going to be the song in its entirety that's going to be played at my funeral. So it's going to take up the whole flipping funeral, really. But it's the way it's written, and the lyrics are utterly spellbinding. And I think for me, November Rain, when you look at Guns N' Roses, what they would normally do, that is such a breakaway from their norm. And it was a brave move. So it's, for me, November Rain is the one track I would take with me.
Amazing. Brilliant. Yeah, amazing music choice, Brendan. So tool or framework?
This one was complicated for me. And the reason it was actually more complicated than the others, because my first reaction was, what? And it's the when it comes to tool or framework, the only thing I can think of is tools and frameworks that I've used in my business life. I can't use a tool or framework that I've used in my music life because it's I've never really followed one. I just kind of with the trumpet, I wasn't doing the grade 5 syllabus. I was learning how to bend notes. As you do, I mean, as every trumpet player needs to do, I'm sure. But the one that's completely changed the way I thought about business was Mike McAllister's Profit First book. Now, obviously, I'm going to bring Mike up anyway because his book Get Different is my favorite book of his. Because again, it engages with the creativity, and I had the real honor of interviewing Mike for my podcast, Harmonies of Success. Just going to get that in there now, and it's for my podcast, and it was a fantastic guest to have, and so you can find that on YouTube and the other major platforms. But Profit First actually taught me a different way to actually think of profit, and taught me a different way to think of how to run the business. And because it's so real, and because it's so it's all him, then that would be the system I would put out there. Because from 2017, I've never really looked back.
Amazing. Yeah, love that. Well, Brendan, it's been absolutely stunning to have you here today with us on the Leading Boldly podcast. You've dropped value bomb after value bomb, and really opened our eyes up to the state of creativity, certainly in the UK, but I know it's not the UK, it's globally. And thank you for everything you're doing with Music Kids Academy and with LSE to try and rectify that.
Well, thank you. And I will end this by saying as well, thank you to you two for the help and advice that you give through Q Branch. I'm proud to be a client of yours. I'm proud to be your friend. And so it's, so Mike aside, you two have really engaged with my brand, with me, and you've changed the way that I do things and continue to do things. So you embody creativity, and it's as well as business. So it's really good to be a guest on your podcast. Thank you.
We're just passionate about great missions, and you have a great mission.
You do.
And you're the perfect person to do it.
I love my mission. Yeah.
Oh, Jenny, your life's just one big drama. This was what my auntie said to me, and it inspired me to put all my dramas in one book. So if your life is full of drama, and I believe everyone's life is full of drama, this is the book with real stories, real struggles, real tools to navigate real life.